Hey, grade eights. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you were able to take some time for yourselves, do something nice and fun for yourselves. Welcome to your Monday math lesson. So last week we were talking about order of operations and the order of BEDMAS, so brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, and what order you're supposed to do those patterns in. Today we are going to talk about growing patterns. So the easiest way to show this is by, on another slide, I have a chart where it says in one column and out in the other, and there's a pattern rule that you have to follow. So we're going to talk a little bit about pattern rules. So it's going to give you the pattern rules, and there's a couple where we have to find the pattern rules ourselves. So today's is going to be pretty simple. It's going to have really simple rules, and then we're going to start getting a little bit more complex as the week progresses. But I'll show you what I mean first and foremost. So how this works is they're called in and out boxes. In is the number in the left column here, and out is the number over here. The rule here, it says to add 4. What it means by add 4 is add 4 to your in number. So this number right here, we have to add 4 to get the out number. So if our in number is 6, we have to do 6, because that's our in number, plus 4, and that equals 10. So our out number would be 10. So I'm gonna copy down this chart really quickly. It's going to be rough, but I will be able to then show you what we mean, and being able to show you the growing pattern. It'll be a little bit easier to demonstrate how it works. So we have in, and we have out. First number is 6, 9, 15, and the last number I think is 22. Yep. All right, so the rule is to add 4 to our in number. So 6 plus 4 we found out is 10. So that's our out number. Next number is 9. We have to add 4 to this number to get the out number. So 9 plus 4 equals 14. Now we have to do 15. So 15 plus 4 equals 19. And that's our pattern. The last one we have right here is 22, but we have to find out what the in number is. If we had to add 4 to this number, to our in number to get to 14, or sorry, this was supposed to be 13. Just realized that. In order to find this number, we had to add 4 to get to this number here. In order to find out what our in number in this case, when the out number is given to us, we have to do the opposite. So if we added 4 to our out number, to get our in number, we have to do the opposite. We have to do 22 minus 4, because 22 minus 4 equals 18. So we have 18 right here. 18 plus 4 equals 22. Okay, so the rule is that this, whatever plus 4 is, our in number, whatever in number is plus 4, has to equal the out number. So in this case, I had to do the opposite to get the number. So we'll do a couple more examples so we can get comfortable with this. So I'm just going to erase my numbers here. And we're going to do a few more examples. And then we're also going to do an example where we have to fill in the chart, but also determine what the pattern rule is. To find the pattern rule is actually fairly simple. You just have to pay attention to what the rule is the first time around. So this one right here is, we have 5 is our first number, 2 is our second, 7 is the second number. And this one is 9 and 13. Okay. 9 and 13. So to find the pattern rule, this one doesn't actually give us the pattern rule. We have to find it ourselves. So see how we have to fill in the pattern rule here? To find the pattern rule, let's look at this first row. This first row gave us both the in and the out numbers. Okay, so it gave us both numbers. It gave us 5 is our in number and out is our 2. How do I get from 5 to 2? Well, I can do 5 minus something equals 2. 5 minus what equals 2? 5, 4, 3, 2, 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 equals 2. So the rule for our in number is our in number minus 3 gets our out number. That's how you can tell if the pattern rule is not given to you. Look at the column that gives you both the in and out number, and that will give you the pattern rule. So now I can fill out the rest of this. 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. So our out number is 4. Now this one here, it gave us the out number, but it didn't give us the in number. However, we know that the pattern rule is subtract 3. If I have the out number and I'm trying to find the in number, I do the opposite to get the in number. So now I do 9 and I add 3 to get my out number. So 9 plus 3 equals 12. So my out number is 12, because if I do 12 minus 3, it equals 9. So that's how I know it's following the rule. Because 5 minus 3 equals 2, 7 minus 3 equals 4, 12 minus 3 equals 9. So I know I'm following this rule. Now my last one is 13. I have to do the same thing I did to 9, which is I added 3. So I have to do the same thing because I have the out number, but I need to find the in number. So I have to do 13 plus 3 equals 16. So I have 16. 16 minus 3 equals 13. So this is how I know I'm doing my pattern right. Is whatever this in number is, my out number is whatever that is minus 3. And that's how I can do my growing patterns. Let us do here. Chris and Pat were born on the exact same day, but not in the same year. Their ages are shown on the table. So we have their age in years. Chris's age is shown here, and Pat's age is shown here. So when Chris was 4 years old, Pat was 7. When Chris was 7, Pat was 10. When Chris was 12, Pat was 15. When Chris is 15, what was Pat's age? Well, let's look at the difference. So when Chris was 4, Pat was 7. How many years older was Pat than Chris? To do that one, all I have to do is find out what the difference is between 4 and 7, and that will give me my pattern rule. So remember in an out table, if Pat was let's do this really quick. I'm going to try to erase this. Okay. So we have Chris right here. And this is Pat. So Chris was 4 and Pat was 7. And when Chris was 7, Pat was 10. And when Chris was 12, Pat was 15. And when Chris is 15, we're trying to find out Pat's age. So what is the pattern rule between these ages? So from 4 to 7, how many years older is Pat than Chris? If Chris is 4 and Pat is 7, we do 7 minus 4. That'll give us the difference between the two, and that equals 3. So in this case, Pat is always 3 years older than Chris, because if I have 7 here and 10, if I do 7 plus 3, that equals 10. If I do here 12 and 15, 12 plus 3 equals 15. So the rule is that Pat is always going to be 3 years older than Chris. So in this case, if Chris is 15, how old would Pat be? He has to be 3 years older. So I have to do 15 plus 3. 15 plus 3 gives me 18. So if Chris is 15, Pat is 18. Okay? So that's that section. So we know he's 18 years old right here. If Pat is 22, how old is Chris? So if Pat is 22, how old would Chris be? Well, we know that Pat is 3 years older than Chris. So to find out Chris's age, we have to actually subtract 3 because Chris is 3 years younger than Pat. So if I do 22 minus 3, that will give me 19 because Chris has to be younger. So if I do 19 plus 3, that equals 22. So that's how I know I got it right, is because Chris has to be younger than Pat in this problem. If I did 22 plus 3, that means Chris is 25, but Chris can't be older than Pat in the same row. So in this case, Chris is 19 and Pat would be 22. So that's that question. When Pat's 22, how old is Chris? He's 19 years old. This one here, when Pat was 30, how old was Chris? So Pat was 30 years old. We have to figure out how many Chris's. But our column here is unfinished. So in order to figure out how old Chris would be, I just have to apply my pattern rule. My pattern rule is that Chris is 3 years younger than Pat. So if Pat is 30 years old, Chris has to be 3 years younger. So I have to do 30 minus 3. That will give me 27 because Chris has to be younger than Pat. So Chris would be 27 and Pat would be 30. Okay, so that is our intro to growing patterns. It's going to be really simple. You're going to have a sheet that is very, very similar to this, just slightly different problems. But basically what you're doing is it's either going to give you the pattern rule like these two, and then you just have to apply the pattern rules. Remember that if you have the out number and you're trying to find the in number, you have to do the opposite of that rule. So here we had to add 4 to our in number to get our out number. For our out number, to get our in number, we have to do the opposite, which is to subtract 4, because our in number has to be smaller than the out number in this case. That won't always be there. In this case, our out number was bigger than our out number. So you have to look at the pattern rule and make sure if you have the out number and you're trying to find the in number, you are doing the opposite of that rule. So instead of adding 4, you might be subtracting 4. Instead of subtracting 3, you might be adding 3. So you just have to pay attention and make sure your pattern makes sense. So make sure that your numbers make sense with one another. But that is it for today. So if you need any help, remember to email me, let me know. But that is basically it. And going on to Wednesday, we're going to start getting a little bit more complex, but for now it's going to be simple adding and subtracting problems like this one right here. Your sheet's going to be very, very similar to this one. So that's it. Thank you. I hope you have a fantastic Monday, and I'll see you on Wednesday.